It is quite the debate for the number one spot in our Big Ten Power Rankings right here at the Voice of College Football. Please like the video. Even if you don't agree with me, if you enjoy what we do, best discussion, debate, and analysis of college football, please subscribe. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. All right, let's get to the Big Ten Power Rankings. And our weekly joke about Northwestern at number 14 is that they would have been number one in our first August. They are the August champions of the Big Ten at 1-0, and everything since then has been downhill for Pat Fitzgerald's crew. 8 consecutive losses, although they're coming off a decent effort in the rainy and windy conditions at home against Ohio State. They led that game 7-0. They hung in the game before finally losing 21-7. They're playing better football the past few weeks. They took Maryland to the final few minutes of the game before losing by a touchdown on the road. Brendan Sullivan completing 73% of his passes. Evan Hall having a fine season. He ran for 122 against the Buckeyes, but this team has lost to the likes of Southern Illinois and Miami of Ohio. And again, 8 consecutive losses for the Wildcats at number 14. They go to Minnesota this week. At number 13, a team that's arguably playing worse than Northwestern right now. Indiana started 3-0. They're 0-6 since, including a drubbing against Penn State 45-14 on Saturday, a game in which Connor Baslick was replaced by Jack Tuttle. Indiana goes to Ohio State on Saturday. In the 12th position, we've got a game Rutgers team that blocked a punt, played some good defense, created some plays in the passing game, and actually led Michigan 17-14 before giving up 38 consecutive points. Rutgers ran only 48 plays in the game to Michigan's 80. They have the 18th rated total defense in the country. Unfortunately for Rutgers, they can't throw the ball at all. Not worth a darn. 3 picks by Gavin Wimsatt, and they are number 121 in the nation in trying to mount any kind of offense, and Rutgers goes to Michigan State on Saturday. In the 11th position, we've got a team without a quarterback like Rutgers. It is Nebraska. Casey Thompson went down a couple games ago. They could mount basically no offense against Illinois. Ditto this past weekend despite grabbing a 10-0 lead against Minnesota. Logan Smothers and Chubba Purdy combined for 11 of 26 in this game. Couldn't complement the effort of Anthony Grant on the ground with 115 yards. This team is number 113 in total defense. Mickey Joseph is 2-4 now in his quest to get the permanent gig in Lincoln. The Huskers now take on Michigan on the road. Our numbers 4 through 10 teams are awfully close, all of them. Let's start at number 10, of course, with Michigan State, coming off a huge win on the road against Illinois. Mel Tucker's 4th road win against a ranked opponent at Michigan State, breaking Illinois' 6-game winning streak. And Michigan State coming off that incident in the tunnel, totally their fault against Michigan, but they faced a lot of adversity because of it. A lot of innocent players playing in the game with 8 suspended players. Peyton Thorne leads Michigan State to the win against Illinois, and Sparty's now 2 wins. They got to go 2-1 to reach bowl eligibility. In the 9 position, Maryland, Talia Tagovailoa back in the fold at quarterback, but it didn't help in rainy, windy conditions. Couldn't throw the ball at Wisconsin, going 11 of 23 in that game for just 77 yards passing. Again, the conditions did favor the rushing attack of Wisconsin. Maryland goes down 23-10. The Terps are 6-3. They've got Penn State and Ohio State the next 2 weeks. In the 8th position, once reeling off of 3 consecutive losses, Minnesota's won back-to-back games now, including the win aforementioned against Nebraska, 20-13. Mo Ibrahim ran for 128 yards in that game. He's rushed for 100 yards in 17 consecutive games. The quarterback position, though, unsettled. Tanner Morgan went out with injury again. Ethan Kalkamanis came in, did his job, handed the football off. We're looking at a team that runs the ball rather well and, of course, has the 7th ranked total defense in the nation. Number 15 in yards per play against. Minnesota reached bowl eligibility with a win against the Huskers at 6-3. They take on Northwestern next. At number 7, Purdue. 2 recent awful performances by the Boilers, getting blown out against Wisconsin, and then they score only 3 points against Iowa on Saturday at home. However, this sets up the biggest game of the year in the Big Ten Western Division as Purdue takes on Illinois. So despite all that poor play in recent weeks, and the offense is stalled with an injured Aiden O'Connell, hurt his rib several weeks ago, missed a game against FAU. It has not been the same since. They will go to Champaign, Illinois with a chance to take over ownership of the Big Ten Western Division despite just a 3-3 conference record. All right, in the 6th position, we go to the team that blasted Purdue, and they found some offense. Iowa found some offense. Sound the alarm. Iowa scored 21 points, scored 24 points. They had 3 touchdowns at 21 points. Spencer Petras threw a couple touchdown passes, doubling his output of the season. Caleb Johnson ran for 200 yards. Yes, 400 yards of total offense, something in that range for Iowa. Wow. And this team is the only defense in college football that is giving up less than 4 yards per play. Iowa at 5-4 because of their trip-ups early. Probably no shot at winning the division, but they take on Wisconsin coming up in Iowa City this week. And speaking of the Badgers, number 5, they beat Maryland 23-10. They're now 3-1 under Jim Leonard. And Wisconsin did that with Braylon Allen gaining 119 yards. Isaac Guarandado with 114. The defense did its job. So this is old Wisconsin football with Graham Mertz going 5-18 with those conditions. But they get the 5 sacks from the defense and 7 tackles for loss. Wisconsin goes to Iowa at 5-4. In the 4th position, a team that was red hot. But this is Big Ten football, this is Big Ten Western Division football, and this is college football. Illinois loses to Michigan State despite Chase Brown going for 136 yards. This is still the number 1 rusher in the nation and the number 1 defense in the nation. But they go down to Michigan State, and they made a futile and late attempt at a comeback in this game. So it comes down to the game against Purdue, and then they can actually lose a game after that on the road against Michigan if they beat Purdue coming up this Saturday in Champaign. Our number 4 team in our Big Ten Power Rankings right here at the Voice of College Football. Let's take it to the top 3. They have distinguished themselves easily. Penn State's at number 3. They are in a holding position under the top 2 and above the rest of the league. Penn State finally didn't have to play Ohio State or Michigan, and they drubbed Indiana by 31 points. Drew Aller got into the game and threw 2 touchdown passes in relief of Sean Clifford. And the 2 rookie running backs, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, ran for about 150 yards. Penn State's a good football team. They're 7-2. They've got Maryland coming up this weekend. All right, now to the final 2. They're both 9-0. They're both 6-0 in the Big Ten. One of them took on a much more difficult non-conference foe, of course, in Notre Dame, who's playing much better football. But the other one took on a Maryland team that matches Notre Dame's record at 6-3. So throw away the resume and look at how the 2 teams are playing. And one is playing much more complete football at this point. Our number 2 team in the Big Ten Power Rankings are the Ohio State Buckeyes. Couldn't run the ball again this week against Northwestern, the 109th ranked rush defense in the nation. So it was understandable to a certain extent against Iowa and against Penn State, but not against Northwestern when they needed to run the football. They showed signs of trying to create ways to run the football with Emeka Egbuka running for the first touchdown from 21 yards out. CJ Stroud actually kept it, had a couple quarterback designed runs. So Ohio State not playing well in the running game. And then, of course, the passing conditions were horrible. C.J. Stroud could not adjust. So I think most of that was the conditions, of course, because we've never seen a day from C.J. Stroud like Saturday in Evanston. However, need to be able to adjust to wet conditions, windy conditions. 10 of 26 for just 76 yards for C.J. Stroud. Ohio State's the number 2 team right now in the Big Ten. And at number 1, the most complete team in the Big Ten as of right now, Michigan. J.J. McCarthy had an off day in Piscataway as the Wolverines went down 17-14. They blasted their way back and blasted Rutgers 52-17. J.J. came into the game as the number 1 passer in the nation in completion percentage, but only hit on 13 of 27 against the Scarlet Knights. Blake Corum continues his Heisman campaign with 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards. They have the second-ranked total defense, and they held Rutgers. Rutgers has a horrible offense, but they held Rutgers to 5 first downs. It will all come down to 3 weeks from now. Michigan, Ohio State. Doesn't matter about the power rankings right now because they get on the field in Columbus in 3 weeks. Ohio State's number 2, Michigan's number 1. The rest of the Big Ten power rankings look like this. Penn State a clear 3. Illinois a clear 4. Then it gets muddy. Wisconsin at 5. Iowa 6. Purdue at 7. At number 8, we've got Minnesota. At number 9, Maryland. Michigan State at 10. Then the big drop off again to Nebraska, Rutgers, Indiana, and those Wildcats of Northwestern. They are a steady number 14 in the Big Ten. Best discussion, debate, and analysis because of your contribution and support right here at the Voice of College Football.